Okay, everyone, welcome to an episode of On the Wrist from Off the Cuff. I have a really cool follow-up for you guys from the brand Timex. Originally founded back in 1854 as a Waterbury clock company, then later transitioned into the U.S. Time Company around World War II before settling on the Timex Corporation name in the 70s. Now, in terms of the type of watch, this is a traveler's watch, some key comic characteristics in design language when you're looking for something that you can wear and track multiple time zones. Of course, you're going to find that GMT or world timer functionality so that you are able to track these time zones with relative ease. This is their Expedition North GMT titanium automatic, and it is built for adventurers who demand durability, functionality, and style in their timepieces. While taking some clear inspiration from the Tudor Black Bay Pro, I do personally feel that they did enough to avoid it being a direct homage, at least by current industry standards. Now, in terms of the price point, these have gone up since I initially reviewed these. They're going for $5.99 now and are regularly sold out, but I did want to follow up because of this epic strap pairing thanks to Anchor Strap Company. So I have it featured here on this deployed elastic strap, that OD green and yellow Marine Nationale style. It's $30 for the strap and about $80 for that special matte blasted deploying clasp that perfectly goes with this beautiful matte titanium blasted case. So for me, this pairing just brought this watch back to life for me. So I thought, why not do a follow-up video? And yeah, this thing is still sweet. I think it arrived with a lot of fanfare, and I think a lot of people just figured it would fade over time. And although maybe it has faded a little bit, I think that this watch has some real staying power. So with all that said, let's go ahead, zoom the camera out, get this piece in hand, and take a closer look. Okay guys, quickly before we get into that gorgeous watch and strap pairing, if you were wondering which pen this is actually from Tactile Turn, and this is their smooth operator, and it is exactly that. Very nice piece. Check out that unique tip there. Very nice. Now, this just falls within this EDC category. And I mean, not that I should have to even let you know what this is, but this is a Chris Reeve Sebenza 31, guys. Beautiful Insingo blade shape, and you do have that in Magna Cut with this beautiful black micarta inlay. Just all you ever need in a knife. Now, not the most modern and exciting from that perspective, but definitely an absolute classic that can stay with you forever. But within that theme of kind of staying with you forever, I think that this Timex actually has a lot of potential in terms of longevity. Now, getting into the diameter here, the dimensions overall, 41 millimeters here across, 13.5 millimeters thick, and 48 millimeters lug to lug. Titanium, of course, in terms of that case, matte blasted, 120 click, bi-directional bezel with that 24-hour insert, of course, quite reminiscent of something like, let's say, an Explorer 2, except you can actually turn the bezel insert, which I think is very cool, and of course doesn't really affect the overall silhouette by much. Now, the movement inside is going to be that Seiko Instruments NH34 collar style GMT. So 41-hour power reserve, beats at 3 hertz or 21,600 vibrations per hour in terms of the beat rate. You do get a display case back, but it's slightly covered here. And if you want to see the full review of this watch, definitely check my channel history, guys. But the main point of this little update is to just enjoy the strap pairing. Now, of course, this Marine National style of strap has been very popularized as of the last few years. They've really made a comeback, and the nice thing is our friends over at Anchor Strap Company have kind of been able to morph it to another level with their deployant style strap. And now we do have a beautiful matte blasted finish, which ties in perfectly in terms of the theme here. Also, the yellow accents, I think, the green, it all flows and just makes this a fun piece. Yeah, I mean, flat out, look at it, it just goes together. So since I have done the full review before, I'm just going to go ahead and get this right on. You can see here, nicely reinforced with that beautiful silicone there. Just makes it feel a little bit more refined. Check that out. Not really adding any noticeable thickness, but at the same time, adding a ton of wearability. Now, this is going to be one of the more comfortable setups that are going to be available out there, and it flows beautifully with these boxed style lugs. So very cool. Again, flows beautifully. You're getting sapphire with an AR coating, an inner AR coating at that. You're getting this beautiful matte dial. Check it out. Actually, you know what? If I get my wrist a bit too close to the camera lens, you're going to notice that, guess what? It's going to make the watch appear a lot larger, but that is really just kind of a byproduct of the fact that it's the lens, and you're getting a bit of perspective distortion. All of a sudden I put my wrist nice and low and it just seems more centered. You're seeing the sides of the case a bit more. So I'll tighten up the frame, but then so you guys can still get a detailed look, but just add a bit of a truer aspect ratio as to what you might be used to. And check it out. Ooh, guys. Now, it's not the most felt, but again, you get the tutor and you're going to be like, this thing's a little thick. But you're getting a Timex for $5.99. And yes, it's expensive for a Timex, but in terms of like the box that it checks, guys, this checks a really nice amount of boxes in terms of the fact that the brand Timex is iconic in its own right, not as a luxury brand, but of course, just as a brand within a horology, as something that's there, that's been there, that will keep being there. And their Expedition North line definitely accentuates a really fun direction for them in terms of focusing on the more robust build quality. You're even still getting some niceties there with that nicely signed screw down crown, which does help you with that 200 meters of water resistance. Now, a 200 meter water resistant titanium watch with a great Seiko movement. Now, it is a collar style GMT, so it's going to be that GMT hand that's going to be independently adjustable versus that local hour hand, which, for traveling isn't going to be quite as intuitive, but still totally works. And then I would say might even be more convenient in most use cases thanks to that date window, because you're still going to retain the quick set date function versus typically most jumping hour style of flyer GMTs are going to pretty much forego that. You're going to have to spin that hour hand around the dial a few times for you to cycle through the dates. So I don't know. I dig this thing a lot, and I review watches. I own a ton of watches, and this one it fights for wrist time. It demands it. That dial with those 3D indices, the really high execution, guys. Do you see particles? Do you see smudges? Do you see misprinting? Do you see anything that looks just not razor sharp on this? I mean, it is very cool. I like that as a functional tool watch, it's still finished to a very high grade. I mean, of course, like you look at this, right? It's a little bit softer, but I mean, it's matte blasted, guys. It's not like, hey, there's a bunch of like bevels that are cut into it and it just looks a little soft. I mean, that's kind of the whole point. This has that kind of skipping stone feel to it, right? That just that more tool-like quality in terms of that working finish. And I mean, it still does play with the light quite nicely. And, you know, you even get this little satin blasted beast that also plays with the light quite nicely. And look at that micro bevel catching the light, even with that finish. So very, very cool. I just wanted to share this combo, guys. I think this thing is absolutely awesome. So with that said, I mean, as much as we love loom shots, why not get there? We'll get this off the wrist and check it out with some low light transition and closing thoughts. Okay, let's go ahead and hit the lights here. Look at that. Very nice loom. And I dig it. Just really well executed, really well appointed. No, it's not the craziest, best loom ever, but for a Timex, it's really quite outstanding. And I think even by general standards, it's still quite impressive, especially considering that this isn't a dive watch, although it does have diver-like capabilities with that 200 meters of water resistance, you know, mainly in part due to that screw down crown and of course a nice robust construction. But one thing I always like to work in is going to be a bit of low light transition, because you know it's going to be out in the middle of a field enjoying direct sunlight. A lot of times you're going to find yourself coming out of buildings, walking underneath overhangs, or just hanging out underneath the shade of a tree. So it is nice to see what these colors, textures, and finishes render like in less than optimal lighting. And although this is matte finished, which some will even say flat, it's not flat. Like, look at how three-dimensional those contours, those shapes, those slopes come together. And I love the high contrast nature of the dial, of that bezel, you know, execution there in terms of the 24-hour indexing, so that you can offset and track multiple time zones very quickly, quick computations. So very, very useful and very, very handsome. Again, quite well balanced from the design standpoint. So guys, closing thoughts. On the wrist, nice sporty wear, not too bulky, with a decent amount of heft for a titanium watch on a strap, of course. Now, in terms of model variants, this is essentially a down-spec'd and simplified variation of their more upscale James Brand Miyota 9000 series GMT limited edition that they released a little while back. And in terms of comparable models, considering Timex's brand history, mainstream visibility, and the movement choice, I feel like the Seiko SSK GMTs are definitely a natural competitor at just under $500, about $475. While the Timex does offer a titanium construction, you know, for a bit over, you know, well, I'd say a bit under 600. These were released around 549. They're about 599 now. So the prices have gone up, while as I'd say the Seiko prices have gone down. So that's definitely something to consider. But for me, guys, bottom line, pairing this watch with this strap combination really just makes it feel much more complete, like a more complete product as a whole. I think thematically it all just flows wonderful. And while not the cheapest automatic GMT on the market currently, it is one of the most enjoyable on the wrist, combining style, heritage, and a serious adventure capability at an affordable price point. And that's why I thought it was worth revisiting for you guys. So with that said, let me know what you all think down in the comments below. How many of you have been able to get your hands on one of these? How many of you have been on the fence about these? And how many of you might consider picking up this strap combo after seeing how beautifully it pairs and wears? All right, guys, I'll see you in the next one.